Okay, so the podcast is it's so hard. So the podcast is called Public Display of Connection. It's a podcast where I have my favorite people on, and they bring a poem that they like, and then they read it, we discuss it, and then we get into more, maybe deeper conversations and intimacy and talk about like where we connect and why we connect. And you might be thinking right now, hey, Aubrey, I don't like poetry. I don't get it. It makes me want to vom every time I look at it. And to that I say, maybe you just haven't read enough poems. Maybe you haven't read your poem yet that will really open you up to the idea of new ideas. And in the words of Walt Whitman, not judgmental. And you know, maybe you'll hear a poem that you connect with and you'll start racing to your local library or bookshop and screaming at the top of your lungs, where the hell is the poetry section? And I'll be waiting there in the next aisle, creepily watching you, saying, hey, I told you so, and I'll be happy for you. This week we sit down with one of the stars of the Inside the Artist series, Noah Wilson. We're going to read a poem by William Blake, talk the origins of Halloween, good versus evil, and even death. I'm super sick, so you know it's going to be good.
Is this cool? Is this a me too? No? Sorry.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't know what to do with
Get
my
comfortable. We're friends. It's okay. Aristotle's going to watch this later, and he's going to murder you.
Well, I'm Socrates, so I'm just kidding. I do feel like Socrates these days.
Yeah?
Sometimes.
Why do you feel like Socrates?
Because I grew a beard and I spent a lot of time nude wrestling.
Cool.
Cool.
Who do you nude wrestle with?
My roommates, people on the street, basically just anybody that wants it, you know?
Cool. I'm down.
Yeah. After this podcast is over, I've got my singlet on.
Wait, where's your luchador mask?
It's in my cabinet of curiosities over there.
We'll get it later, and then you can try it on. Who the hell are you?
Well, my name is Socrates. I'm a Greek philosopher from the 3rd century. Now, my name's Noah Wilson. I've known Aubrey for about 7 years now.
No way.
7 years?
Really? Oh my god. Wait, when did we meet?
Well,
We met at Fender.
Well, we worked together at Fender. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like 2016, 2017.
Yeah. The first time I met you...
19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Right.
So it's about 6 years,
6 years.
Wow.
The first time I met you, you were actually feeding me falafel. Serving me a plate of falafel.
Oh, because we were to the restaurant next door.
Which is how I meet all my women. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't even look at women these days unless there's falafel involved. I'm a practicing Muslim.
Oh. I remember the first time that I recall meeting you was we were on a photo shoot and you were there. I don't think you were working the photo shoot, but you came after and you put this like crown of thorns on your head and you were sitting there and there was a photo taken of us. I'm sure I could find it.
Yes, I have the photo. Yes.
Yeah, and it was like you just like look like Jesus.
Yes. Thank you.
And
I just turned 30.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same age that Jesus was.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It all comes around, you know, full circle.
How does it feel to be Jesus?
I think we are all Jesus. I think Jesus is more just like a manifestation of consciousness.
Cool.
Far out.
Do you normally dress like this, or is this like a special...
This is just my Thursday outfit. It's Halloween, so I thought it would be fun to wear costumes.
Yeah, I'm dressed as Bret Michaels, Pirate Bret Michaels, and you are?
I am the Leopard Man.
That's your wrestling name. That's nice. I went to a weed-sponsored luchador event once, and it was so funny because, like, normally at those types of events, I feel like people drink and they get rowdy and they cheer and they're just like, yeah, pummel him. But everybody was stoned.
Everyone
so they
just
were
like moving really slow.
They were just so concentrated and they were just like, fuck, oh no. Like they thought it was real, but then they were all just like looking around to see if people knew they were stoned, and then they were also just like so into the wrestling to where they like forgot it was fake. But
sounds like a great time.
it was really fun. I liked it. I went with somebody who kind of sucks, but I have fond memories of the wrestling.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'll hit you up next time.
Yeah, let me know. You know, I got my outfit ready. I'm ready to hop in the ring anytime, any day.
So it's Halloween, and I'm a little sick. Thank you for coming over on for this episode, which you were like pumped about, and it got me excited about it. And yeah, I was just like, okay, like I really like Noah really wants to do this Halloween episode, and you were like really like gung ho, and I'm glad that you did it. Thank you, because I was being a little lazy.
Yeah.
But you were saying that you wanted to discuss. You've brought a Halloween-ish poem, and then there was some things about Halloween that we're going to discuss that I learned some facts about that were kind of fun. But tell me about what you learned.
Well, we can talk about Samhain, which is sort of like, I believe, where Halloween originates from. It's an Irish holiday, I think, originally. Celtic, Gaelic. From what I understand, it's sort of like a celebration of the changing of the seasons, right? So, like, traditionally, if you're, like, living in a farming community, you would plant your seeds in the springtime and then harvest in the fall, like right around Halloween. So like right around now is when you would start like harvesting all your crops. You would have a big festival, worship the pagan gods.
Naturally.
Basically, a lot of like our modern day ideals of like what Halloween is comes from this idea of like Samhain and this like a passing of seasons, right? This like change from like August to winter, right? The change from fall to December should be celebrated. It's the same thing you see in Mexico too, with like the Day of the Dead, things like that, right?
Yeah, it's the day when the
fall equinox.
The veil is thinnest between the living and the dead.
Right. So yeah, that's interesting you bring that up, because so like when there's this idea that like there's almost like a opening of like a portal in the spirit world during these time periods, right? When like the equinoxes align, when the seasons change from fall to winter, where things might just get a little bit spooky.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
I've seen plenty of ghosts. Yeah. I mean, I've messed around. Well, I wouldn't say I've communicated with ghosts before.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, this one time I was looking for a couch on Craigslist.
Also, cheers.
Cheers.
What is this, John Wayne's bourbon?
John Wayne whiskey.
Yeah. Shout out to John Wayne. Or maybe not.
Let's get a sponsorship. With the Duke.
Ghosts. Let's get some ghost sponsorships.
Oh, yeah. I bought a haunted couch this one time off Craigslist. And I used to sleep on it and have nightmares. It was a cool couch. It was a nice couch. But the owner actually warned me when I bought it that it was possibly, if not probably, haunted.
And then you started having nightmares on it.
Yeah, you know, I meant like this was like a couple years ago. I was in my early 20s. Like I might take a nap on it in the middle of the afternoon, and I would wake up in just like cold sweats. You know what I mean? I would have nightmares, which I don't normally have. You know what I mean? I have a pretty clear conscience for the most part. So yeah, that was sort of my first introduction into sort of the ghoul ghost sort of realm.
Yeah.
You know, supernatural experience.
You know who else saw things and saw ghosts and angels and whatnots? William Blake. Yeah, I was reading that he had like visions and stuff and saw like angels and demons and things in the trees, and but then he was just like, well, I'm gonna make it my art, so like, great.
Yeah, our experience in life all just comes from consciousness, right? So there's this idea that like, you know, like schizophrenic people, for instance, you know, they see things and we lock them up in mental institutions. They end up on the street or whatever. other societies don't necessarily have that same sort of interpretation of schizophrenia. Like, for example, in like indigenous cultures, if you're schizophrenic, you might be like become like a shaman or something like that. They put more sort of like meaning behind these sort of like visions that we have, even if they're sort of unconventional, or that they sort of, that the problem is in modern society is if you're having visions, then you're not going to be a good productive worker, right? So the cool thing about William Blake is he was like an iconoclast. Like, he was an incredibly intelligent, sensitive, creative man that was, breaking down social constructs. Basically, you know, he was a rebel. He was very punk rock for his time. It was like a romantic age in Europe.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, one of the things I just remembered about the Sam Hain is that if you committed a crime on Sam Hain, the punishment was death. Like, apparently that was a thing. I just popped up. I forgot to mention it. I'll edit it back in. Maybe not.
No, it's really interesting.
Lazy. But yeah, like, I was looking through like William Blake's art, and it does seem like even despite his, whatever like mental things were going on, like
I'm not trying to say he was schizophrenic. William Blake fans, don't fucking crucify me.
Don't come at him.
I just mean that like sometimes like when you're a really creative person, sometimes maybe that creativity might bleed into the material world, right? We're just sort of experiencing the material world through our own biochemical processes, right? So like, there's a whole quantum idea too, where it's like,
Maya wants to be a part of. What do you have to say? Sorry. Quantum physics, it got to a standstill. Yeah, well, I think that there is something to, like, people who are tapped into certain energies and things. I think that we are very quick to be like, oh, they're crazy. But I think that there's, you look at a lot of, like, really creative minds, like, they do function differently. And in order to create work or to see the world through a new perspective, like, you do need a different functioning mind. And so I also feel like, there are things that people tap into, and this is, like, a spiritual plane in whatever aspect, like, we experience things in that. Something just fell off the wall that has been up.
The ghost of William Blake.
Like, there's been this poem hanging on the wall for probably months, and right when I was saying that, it just fell down. There's no wind in here. There's no reason for it to fall down. Eee! Spooky. It looked like you were going to say something.
I lost my train of thought.
That is creepy, though. Oh my God, are the spirits here? Is William Blake here?
I think they're always here, and they're always not here. And that's how quantum physics work, right? Like, they're there if they're to be observed, and if you keep an open mind, then I think that sometimes spooky things will happen to you. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy at times. But at the end of the day, I think that it's fun to play with nonetheless, right? Whether these things aren't actual, whether the supernatural is real or not real, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, I think ultimately God, whatever your conception of God is, you can boil down to just like the human imagination. And I think that's kind of like a lot of what William Blake was talking about. Like, he wrote a book. So like, yeah, like he's like an artist and also a writer. He wrote these books that are called they're like considered like illuminated. Like, he was writing poems and also like designing artwork for his own books.
Do you want to read the poem?
Yeah, sure. I'll read
give me an example of that.
So yeah, well, let me circle. Can I circle back for 1 second?
You can do whatever you want, dude. This is the Noah show today.
Today it's the Noah show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think and I don't speak for William Blake. This is just my interpretation, sort of like of his writing, Mm-hmm. But he grew up in, and I'm just setting the stage for the poem that I'm about to read, but he grew up in like a romantic age in England, which was obviously ruled at the time by, like the church and like the conventional form, right? Yeah. Like the Holy Bible, right? And say what you want about like religion, but, like holy books themselves are interesting cultural artifacts as far as just like, you know, like they're written, like our language comes from a lot of the poetic forms that evolved out of the Bible. And I think Blake realized that basically like all of human existence comes from the duality of heaven and hell. And like you can't have one without the other. Like you can't have good without evil. And one of the things that he was trying to explore is just like, if God is our own imagination, like how far into the depths can I go into my own mind? You know, how far can I sail into the depths of my own imagination? Can I confront my inner demons? You know what I mean? Can I face all that darkness? Because like, you know, there's the idea just like with consciousness that like, you know, men and women contain multitudes. You know, we're all capable of great good and great evil.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the things that make us different. That's what makes life interesting. I don't really personally believe in like a perfect world or like a utopia. Like I think that the world is perfect as it is because of the friction that exists. We're just unable to conceptualize it just because we live in just like a society, right?
Well, it's like, it's how we understand the world is by antithesis, is like, you know, the sky is not the water and the water is not the sky. And like, there is like, everything is defined by what it is or is not. And so it's just a basic, it's not necessarily like, well, I think that there is like connotations of like good or evil or bad, because there's things that like we enjoy and there's things that we don't. But it is just like up and down are defined by each other.
It's all polarity and dualism.
Yeah. Literally, the Earth has like poles in it. The like zeros and ones.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yes. I think Blake was taking a sort of like Eastern sort of like perspective to the Bible when he was writing these things.
Interesting.
There's a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, which I'm sure you've heard before, but like, if you look long enough into the abyss, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you look long enough into the abyss will stare back at you.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, it is like, I think it is an interesting thing, because it's like everybody, like the whole thing is like self-love, you know, making peace with yourself, finding your own happiness and your own joy. And like, there is a lot of like, you know, reflection to being a human. And I think that, yeah, there's like that, I think a lot of that going on in culture where it's like self-care, self-worth, like, and it is an interesting time, because I feel like within that reflection, if you are really reflecting, you will be able to be in community easier and more. If it's like, take care of put your own oxygen mask on before you put others on. And I think if everybody did that more, it would be maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I think if you want to get into just psychology real quick, because I think William Blake was, you know, he came before Jung, he came before Nietzsche, he came before all of these guys that, you know, Freud, that basically made up ultimately Foucault, that basically made up what we consider modern day psychology. Mm-hmm. And I think they were all definitely influenced by him, by this idea that like, you know, art can be therapeutic, you know, poetry is therapeutic. You know, any sort of like art where you're making something and you're sort of like creating an artifact based on your own experience in life can be a form of therapy. And it's like one of the most important things I think you can do as a person. And I think that like basically all of our neurosis, you know, in modern day, all this like therapy, all this like, you know, you got to love yourself. People get sucked into social media. They're all people are running from something, right? Dating apps, you know, just like relationships, you know, like, people feel inadequate in like whatever realm of life that they're in. I think all of it is sort of it all is rooted in like a deep existential fear of dying.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is really like the overarching fear, and it manifests in a multitude of different ways.
Are you afraid of dying?
Of course I am. I think if you say that you're not afraid of dying, then you're severely death repressive. You know?
I have a curiosity about it. I also have like a thing where I'm like brushing my teeth and I'm like, God, I think I've brushed my teeth enough. I think I'm ready to be done brushing my teeth. And so I have like things like that where I'm like, oh, like that would be a relief to not have to, you know, go to the grocery store or like do like remedial tasks. But that is something that there's like, I ebb and flow between like fear and curiosity, because I do think that there's nothing you can do about it. So to fear it seems like a waste of time. But then the minute, you know, you have that like doctor's appointment where they're like, actually, we found something, you're like, no, ooh, ah,
Right.
like, and like, or I'll like watch movies where people, you know, they're on like the submarine that's going down, and I'm like, oh shit, like, but not me. And so I think that fear is there, but then ultimately I'm trying to be like, well, what if I was just like curious rather than fearful? But when push comes to shove, I'm sure I'll be like scratching and clawing.
There's a theory, or there's a saying rather, that there are no atheists in the foxholes. Mm-hmm. Like when people are truly confronted with death, like at that moment, they always 100% of the time seek some sort of higher power. I mean, there's a lot of work that's been done on this subject, and just like depth psychology, and currently there's a philosopher called Sheldon Solomon that wrote a book called I'm paraphrasing again, but like the worm at the center of the core, or something like that, which is basically like, you know, basically all human civilization, the reason we create culture, the reason we create society, religion, is all because of our fear of dying. You know, the reason we start families, you know what I mean? It's all sort of like tied into this sort of like fear of death, and like a want to you know, for something more, you know, you want your lineage to go on, whether it's through some cultural artifact that you make through art, or whether it's through a child, or whether it's just through, you know, your living memory, you know what I mean? Because people never truly die if people remember them, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about like poetry, where I don't have any children, but
Good.
It does feel it does feel like something that you are like contributing to the world, which I know for me it's like, it sounds a little bit narcissistic to be like, oh, I'm gifting my words to the world, but like it is something where it's like, that is me, and this is my human contribution, is like this poem, or like this, you know, experience that I'm providing, or this meal. I'm very big into like experiencing the world and life and having adventures, and just like, you know, doing as much as you can. And I think that it's because like life is finite, and it is like crazy to me that somebody would just like spend their entire life in an office doing paperwork, but also like, you know, those people are necessary. Because, like,
somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take out the trash.
Somebody's got to do those Excel spreadsheets. But, like, yeah, it is, like, because of death that we live.
So all ties back into the duality, life and death.
Yeah.
You know, the yin and the yang, you know.
Do you want to read that poem?
So I'll just preface this poem. The backstory on it. This is one of William Blake's more famous poems. So William Blake was a writer. He was an artist, cultural icon. He also had a younger brother who was also an artist. Robert.
Yeah.
And Robert died at a very young age, and he left behind a sketchbook. And William Blake kept the sketchbook, and some of the best stuff that he ever wrote was written in that black sketchbook that was his younger brother's that died. Right now, it's currently at the Met Museum, I believe. Oh,
yeah. I saw this scene where like Patti Smith was saying that she got to like look through it.
Yes, it's certainly possible. Yeah. All right, this is The Tyger by William Blake. Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? And what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? And what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dead grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry?
What parts do you connect with?
You know, he's trying to understand what kind of God could make the tiger. Like something that is so treacherous, right? There's a line, right? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Like the same person that made the lamb, which, you know, you could think of like a sheep. I think it's also sort of like alludes to like Jesus Christ a little bit. You know, the same person that made all of existence made, you know, they made the terrible things, and they also made like the really cute things, like Maya here, you know?
Yeah. I've always kind of struggled with that too, with just like, like when people suffer, like what is the purpose of that? And like if there is something that can stop it. Like, I mean, right now we're sitting in a time where there is like immense suffering in the world. Like specifically there's like multiple wars going on, and it feels very pointless and very cruel. And just, like things like there's like children that I know that are like deathly ill, and you're just like, why? Like, right. who fucking approved that memo? Like, it feels cruel and it feels wrong. And so it is a hard thing to grapple with. But then we also live in this world of just like spectrum and things being so one way or the other, where it's like you couldn't have great joy without great pain, because like they are the pendulum. And I remember my therapist once telling me that I was like having trouble feeling like joy because I was like stopping my pendulum in the middle, where I was like, I don't want to feel sad. I was like stopping myself from feeling sad. And she was like, you need to like allow yourself to go there, because then it can like swing back up, because you're kind of right now like stopping it.
Right.
And it is a hard thing to be like, okay, well, you know, I accept all this pain and suffering, but it is kind of just like a part of the story. And like usually great stories have these crazy things that happen, and you know, it's like I kind of view life as like a ride and a journey, or like a film that we're watching, and if nothing ever happened it would be boring, but then sometimes it does feel like too much or too cruel. And so it is definitely a hard thing. I don't know if you can ever accept the fact that like cruelty exists. I don't know if that's something that you can, but like there is an element of like, oh, you can understand it within the context.
Right. A lot of my sort of aesthetics in life, just like with art, come from like Miyazaki. I'm sure you're familiar, like Spirited Away.
Yeah.
He's an anime director.
Yeah.
He did like Princess Mononoke, things like that. All of his films sort of explore this duality of like the human experience, where like for example, Princess Mononoke is like about, you know, the like environmentalism almost, and also the duality of like environmentalism and also just like the human technology, which is can also be a beautiful thing. Yeah. The Wind Rises, like another one of his movies, is about like, you know, the like airplane engineering, like this beautiful technology that we made, but it also sort of like lends a hand to fascism, right? So I think like if you're trying to be an artist, like these are sort of like some things that you want to explore. These are some ideas that you want to explore, right? Like it's important to dive into the, you know, simple ideas like well, they're not necessarily simple, it's pretty fucking complex, but like why is there sorrow and suffering in the world, right? You know what I mean? But it all comes back to sort of like the duality of the human experience.
Yeah, I like one thing that I've been experiencing more lately is like crying and like allowing myself to cry. And it is a very weird thing because it's like, I think we fight it and we kind of have this like, oh, like, you know, oh, sorry, like we apologize for crying. But I've just lately just been like, I'm just gonna cry and I'm like gonna let her rip. And it is this weird like cleansing thing where it's like you kind of have different types of like, there's like orgasm, crying, sneezing, and then there's a fourth one that's like they're all kind of similar expressions. But
if you can do all four at the same time, then you're automatically enlightened.
You just automatically go to heaven. Sneeze, come, cry.
That's how I want to die,
What
right
would you
there.
say the other one would be? Like a shiver, like one of those like cold shivers, because there's like bad and good, or maybe
Sneeze,
not bad
cough,
and good.
cry, orgasm, laugh. All at the same time.
That was the other one where like laughing. Laughing is such a funny thing because it's just like what is it? We're all just
You also
like,
cry when you laugh sometimes.
ha ha ha, ha ha. Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
Humans, so
Yeah.
weird.
definitely.
What's the weirdest thing that you've ever done?
Well, the weirdest thing that I've ever done.
Yeah. It is kind of a hard question.
Yeah,
to
it's a pretty
answer because
difficult
it's
one.
Very vague.
Also, I don't know
what's
if I want to share that on the fucking internet. Aubrey.
Dang it, almost got him. I had one person on where I was like, okay, like, I was like,
pass on that.
what's the taboo question that I was like, what's something that you'd never talk about on a podcast? And they're like, what? Yeah, Have you ever had a near-death experience?
I have canoeing before.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you pray to baby Jesus?
No, I mean, honestly, I passed out and I just like blacked out. I was canoeing with my dad in like the Swanee River, and I forget what, I think one of the canoes was like filled up with water and they were trying to turn the boat over, and I was just like a kid playing around, and when they turned it over, I basically got like trapped under the canoe.
Ooh.
And I like passed out for a second, and I like woke up just like on the beach, like coughing up a bunch of water. Definitely didn't see any angels or DMT fucking
What is the DMT? Is it a snake?
DMT elves. I mean, people see all sorts of different.
Yeah.
I've had my own experiences on that stuff.
I haven't done it yet. Should I? Do you think I should?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? I mean, you seem fine. You know what I mean? You don't seem to, you
Yeah.
have too many like psychological issues. You have a nice apartment. You have your own podcast.
I
Should
thought
do
you
it on
said
the
I needed a
podcast.
cleaning maid.
Maybe if you smoke some DMT, some of those spirits will fucking clean this place up.
I'm gonna flick your nipple. Oh my god, that was so much harder than I intended.
Shit, that wasn't jack shit. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Don't
Yeah.
me too me, please.
Yeah. It's fine. It's going on Rumble.
They don't police
Yeah,
anybody on
don't care.
Rumble.
Daily Mail's gonna love it.
Near-death experiences. I was like, I also have a water experience. I was we were at Bally's gym, and I was in the pool behind my mom, and she was like talking to her friend, and my little paddleboard like slipped out from under me, and I just like went under the water, and I was like, no! I was like, she's really engrossed in this conversation, I'm gonna die! And I just like felt like, 20 minutes that I was under.
Yeah.
But then,
Your life flashing before your eyes.
Yeah, it was like this crazy thing where I was just like, oh shit, this is it for me, and I'm only like 6. But I think
I've had a good
somebody
life.
yanked me
Yeah,
out. But
yeah.
it was like, it's
At least
very
I died
visceral.
cute and adorable.
Yeah. That's one of the things I think about, like, people that die young is, like, they're always kind of solidified as, like,
Right.
like, was it Heath Ledger and Marilyn Monroe and
Right.
all those people.
Right.
It's
They
like
don't get it. They don't get a chance to get old and gross.
Yeah,
before
or
they
like
get idolized.
old and embarrassing, like, all those,
Yeah.
like, Backstreet Boys. And
David Hasselhoff
NSYNC.
shitting his pants and eating hamburgers in front of his daughter.
Yeah, or like NSYNC going on tour and they're all like with their dad bods and they're all like huffing and puffing doing
Yeah.
the dance
I don't think
moves.
David Hasselhoff pooped himself. I'm sorry, David. If you're
I'm
watching
sure
this.
he did.
Yeah,
He like
he might have.
shoved my friend once, so we're not. You're
Yeah.
on my shit
I
list.
loved you in the SpongeBob movie. I had a near-death experience at Six Flags. wasn't really near death, but I felt my soul leave my body on
shit.
X2 or whatever that fucking thing is.
Yeah.
The G-forces were just too much.
The Goliath. That's that one made me pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two different roller coasters, but they're both really intense, yeah.
Yeah. But I love it. Anytime there's like a roller coaster or a ride or something. We were watching Point Break earlier this week, and I was like, you want to go skydiving? There's like something about it. If somebody was like, we're going skydiving this weekend, do you want to come? I'd be like, fuck, I have to. I have to. But I don't know that I would seek it out.
Yeah, I could see that for you.
Yeah.
I could see you jumping out of a plane. You kind of look like a flying squirrel.
What?
You wore one of those like squirrel suits.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my god, so fun. So, William Blake, back to the poem. What were there any specific lines that you really liked or thought were beautiful?
There's a lot of interesting lines in here.
Yeah.
Let's open this thing back up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I'll read the opener one more time.
Yeah.
Tyger, Tyger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? I also think that the tiger could be like almost an allegory for consciousness. What hand of God could possibly have created this this image or this animal that is like so fearful, but it's so beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? It goes on to say, and what distant deeps or skies, meaning heaven or hell, right? Burnt the fire of thine eyes. On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Is he reaching down into hell to create this thing, or is he grabbing it out of the sky?
Yeah, it's kind of like, is a tiger like a good thing or a bad thing?
Right.
Where it's kind of like a removal from that because it's saying like that we don't know.
It's kind of both, right?
Yeah.
And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? Mm-hmm. So like the sinews, I believe, are like the strings, like that connect like the ligaments mm-hmm. of your like muscle tissue, like your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's saying like what kind of creator could have created this thing?
Yeah.
And then it goes on, what the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? It's kind of like talking about like blacksmithing, right? Like forging like a sword or something like that. He's like, we're making this tiger out of fucking iron, you know?
Because there is like deliberateness to something, you know, like there is design, there's a shape, a structure, a thing. And like, I think the thing is like, yes, but it's like, should we take it personally? But also I think like humans are the tiger in a sense.
Exactly.
Like I've had this thought where I was like, what if we just like reintroduced, you know, predators into society of like, you know, like you probably won't get eaten by a tiger in LA. But if there was like, you know, if there was a tiger that just like lived in LA, like every once in a while, somebody would get eaten. It would be tragic. But like, I feel like humans maybe need that like balance of humility because we're just like storming ahead and destroying the earth and kind of like just milking it for all it's worth, where like we have turned into the tiger.
The whole thing is also sort of like he's not even necessarily talking about a tiger, mm-hmm. right? He could be talking about human consciousness.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Because we do contain multitudes. We do contain this, you know, ability and also like somewhat of a propensity to do evil things. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he's sort of like almost like calling to God, and he's like, you know, who could do this? Like, why, you know, like why would you do this? You know what I mean? I mean, it is beautiful at the same time because humans are able to do such amazing, ingenuitous, you know, incredible things with themselves, but they're also capable of great evil at the same time. You know, you have the spectrum of just like Adolf Hitler and like Leonardo da Vinci, you know? I
thought you were going to say Leonardo DiCaprio.
We could say that too. Yeah. Shouts out to Leo if you're watching. Oh.
He probably is. Yeah. He subscribes,
yeah.
I bet.
I met him on Raya.
Yeah. Wait, but you're not a 22-year-old Girl.
I know, but I have an account.
Oh,
So.
watch out. Watch out, everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm not a 22-year-old adult, but sometimes I fucking feel like one.
Yeah, same. Do you feel like...
I feel like a 22-year-old slut on the inside.
Yeah, same. Aw, shout out to sluts.
Shuts out. We're sex positive.
Yeah. What age do you feel? Like, do you feel like you... Like, I would say, like, I feel like 27 still. 27, 28.
I feel, sometimes it depends on the day, honestly. Sometimes I feel 17. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I feel like I'm in my mid-50s.
Yeah.
But I try to take care of myself. I just turned 30, same age as Jesus Christ.
Right. Yeah, you told me that. I'm 35. Although I am about to turn 36 in November, and I'm like, that number feels weird to me.
I know you're a Sagittarius. I could tell by your hair.
Because it's wild and unkempt.
Brett Michaels over here.
Ow!
What are you working on these days, I want to know.
What am I working on these days? Poetry. I've been writing some poems lately. I've just been in, like, survival mode lately, but yeah, like, I'm really enjoying writing. It is this kind of, like, meditation and practice and, like, giving over of yourself. I was watching this video of, like, Joni Mitchell talking, and she was saying how she was like, I don't get how people could get writer's block. And she's like, all that is just you not wanting to honestly articulate something that you're thinking or feeling. And I think that writing poetry is this kind of, like, practice in like honesty and authenticity and, like, really trying to articulate what is, like, the truest thing, what is the deepest, the most honest, like, how am I, like, really, 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 really feeling.
Totally.
And it's been such a cool thing to get into, and I'm really enjoying, like, I'm, like, meeting other poets and, like, really enjoying their work. There's, like, this whole scene that's happening in LA that I had no idea about, of just, like, local poets, and it's really nice to be around people and in the presence of that, like, just, like, truth telling. So I've been kind of, like, really delving into that. What else have I been working on? Photography. I have a photography business with my partner, and we've been taking some fucking cool ass photos. Like, it's really cool because he's more, like, technically minded, and I'm more, like, kind of, I would say, like, I do more of, like, the like, directing and, like, art directing, and then he does, like, a little bit more of, like, the technical stuff, but we're both creative and kind of, like, ebb and flow in that. So it's really cool because I've never had, like, a creative partner like that where we really, like, elevate each other's work, and it's just, like, it's fun. I'm really liking it because, like, I kind of think that, like, poetry and photography are very they're very similar, because you're just, like, trying to capture a moment and you're trying to capture a thing and get, like, create a moment of, like, something special or unique or beautiful or weird. And it's just, like, poetry is kind of just writing it down, and photography is, like, I'm coming up with this idea in reality and taking a picture of it.
Right.
So it's been cool to kind of dip into both ponds. But yeah, it's nice to, like, do work that you believe in and feel good about and feel inspired to do. Thank God.
I've always thought you were incredibly talented.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love that for you.
Yeah,
I support it. I think that as long as whatever you put your mind to, I think you're incredibly smart and creative, and I think you'll be successful.
Oh, thank you so much. No, it's, like, it's good to hear. We should be telling each other that. Yeah. I
mean it. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. That is one thing where you kind of, like, think about, where you're just like, am I doing what I'm good at? Am I, like, wasting my time? And then, with with, like, the futility of life, you're like, some people, like, spend their lives doing stuff that they just never break through or do it
Yeah,
well. Or...
yeah, and it like whatever. Like sometimes you can't quantify success, but as long as it feels good to you, that's what really matters. You know.
Yeah, and that's what I've been really like focusing on is just like I'm like what type of work do I feel great doing and do I feel inspired to do and that I continue to work in. But yeah, it's good. I like it. What about you?
Well, I'm working on a couple books. I got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/playful_dolphin. You guys should check it out.
Didn't know that.
I got some videos on the way about the history of dolphin communication research.
Ooh, I'm into that.
I'm self-publishing a book on Amazon that's going to drop with my YouTube series. But yeah, other than that, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so interested in like animal intelligence and like dolphins and stuff like that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I think in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to break the interspecies communication barrier.
Right? We don't care about that enough. I think that that's such a, like, everybody's like, oh, the aliens. I'm like,
that's an alien.
This is the alien. Maya, are you an alien? Bark if you're an alien.
That's what an alien would do.
Stare at me blankly if you're an alien. Oh, I guess she's not. Oh! She's over it. She's over my bullshit.
But yeah, there's technology out there where, the problem is, like, you have to create some sort of technology that's safe and non-invasive for the dolphins, right? Because potentially we could create there's been a lot of research into these channel L-hydopsin 2 proteins, which are like a form of like a synthetic light protein that you could potentially create like a Rosetta Stone-like language with a dolphin, but it would be through direct imagery. So you'd have to have some sort of neuralink, basically, like some sort of AI. Well, that's the thing. AI would just make this process way easier and faster. So if you could create sort of like a mutual language through light symbols, that's just like directly channeled into the dolphin's brain, you could create a sort of like Rosetta Stone middle ground language where humans and dolphins could communicate with each other, or any other species as well. You know what I mean? But dolphins are pretty intelligent. Whales, chimpanzees, dogs. It'd be great to like hook up your dog to like a computer and like figure out like what it's thinking. You take it to therapy. You know what I mean? Like you could pick up a traumatized dog from the pet store. You know what I mean? You're like, let's fucking figure this out. You know what I mean? Like, I got you. Let's figure this out together.
Well, I really appreciate you coming all this way to do this. Came from Santa Monica all the way to the east side. West side to the east side?
Baby.
East side? Is that right? Yeah. Usually we end with a hug and a crazy dog barking off in the distance. Are you comfortable with human physical touch?
Yeah, I don't care.
All right, let's hug. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah.
It's good. Oh. We all need it. Oop. We all need that oxytocin. Ooh.
All right, is that a wrap?
I think so. Yeah. Should we eat some of that cake?
Let's eat some cake.
Eat some cake. I'm excited.